Hello and welcome to the Fishing Guide Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Wiegmann. Tell you what, I'm going to say we're having this show by any means that we can.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Is that good, Lee?
That'll work, yeah.
So we're at the Lee means with Garmin. And tell us what your position is there.
I'm one of the regional sales managers. It's Garmin's way of probably, for most people, calling us a rep, but we call ourselves regional sales managers, and got different territories all over the country, and I cover Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, and inland Georgia. So I don't cover that little sliver of the coastal part of it, which is fine by me.
Which is crazy because that is like the bass fishing mega. I think you literally just did
I'm
you
in the
include
heart
Texas?
of it, for sure. No, I don't have Texas.
Oh, you need Texas,
there's three
dude.
of us over in Texas. That's a lot of land to cover over there. So
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you still have some of the prettiest country there is in the United States.
Yeah.
You know, following that Tennessee River Valley. But you know what you also have is some of the best anglers too. And they're using some Garmin units. So tell us, I do know you have one new product, which is the trolling motor. Tell us about the trolling motor.
Okay.
And if you have any other new products that are coming out.
Yeah. Well, we got the trolling motor. It launched a couple weeks ago. It's the Garmin Force Pro. It's got multi-band GPS in it, which that's really kind of improved our anchor lock.
Right.
We've had some people say, it's not as tight as they'd like it to be. We've had that same multi-band in the Kraken, so it was only a matter of time before we put it into the Force, and now the Force Pro. It's got a really, really cool feature that people are excited about. You're able to put it in reverse.
Right.
You double tap the bottom left button. The indicator screen on top there, which we call the E-box, will switch from green to red, and that'll let you know that it's in reverse mode. So a lot of guys who are, have the live scope on the shaft of the trolling motor itself, they can actually, instead of, if they were in a tight situation, they would still be able to keep that live scope on their target and then just back off of it. So kind of like how crappie brakes are utilized.
Right.
Got that reverse feature. It's got the GT56 built into it now. We've had the 54 built into the original one.
Tell them what that is in case they don't know.
So that's our that's sort of like, if you will, our all-in-one transducer. So it does the downside and the regular 2D. And that's an upgrade. The 56 is an upgrade from the 54.
Okay.
It's a little bit more crisp. You can see a little better with that 56.
Is it still the same power? Is it 800 kilohertz and 455?
Yeah, and you're going to stump me on this one, but it goes up to the 12.
The Mega.
Basically.
The Mega.
Yeah.
Yep.
We improved the handle and the cordage on that.
Right.
And I think I've covered it just about all there with it. But yeah.
Do you know the shaft lengths that
it'll be the same, and it's the same footprint for people. If you've got, if you wanted to upgrade from, if you had the original Force, it's, drop in same bolt patterns and all that. So it's it's just a couple things we updated on it, which, we were never a trolling motor company to begin with. That was our first kind of foray into that world. And so, of course, you're going to learn things along the way, and things you can improve and things you can tweak. And that's kind of where we are now with the new one.
Can I stump you by saying what's the price difference between the two?
I can. You would stump me, but I can say it's about $500 more than the original Force was.
But yet you're looking at improvements in sonar, and is it the same amount of thrust?
Yeah, it's still 24 volt or 36 volt, depending on what batteries you want to hook up to it. But yeah, pretty much just those few upgrades. Not giant, but
I have to give you kudos for having the 24 or the 36 volt, because that allows anglers, if they're put on one boat and then they sell that boat and they may get a bigger boat.
Correct.
Like they have an 18-foot aluminum boat and then they buy that fiberglass boat they've been wanting, and they want 36 volts because it's a heavier thing. And boom, all of a sudden it was something that wasn't available when, 20 years ago you had to buy a new trolling motor in itself.
Yeah.
So what else? Do you have any electronics that are?
Nothing new really on, we launched the 9000 series last year, which is really more for the saltwater market. But that technology that we've got in that now is basically 4K.
Right.
uses what we call BlueNet, and BlueNet, a lot of people might not be familiar with it, but BlueNet is actually what's in the live scope itself.
Right.
And we have an adapter cable that comes off a pigtail, if you will, that makes it go into like an RJ45 port, that what we call a network port.
Right.
Because a lot of those units have the 2 ports on the back of it. So we'll foresee probably that technology, eventually trickling down into the future of our, releases that might coming up. So yeah, it'll be a lot faster is what it is. And again, that 4K resolution. So
I like the fact that you talked about networking and Bluetooth. So give us the lowdown on if you have 2 units and maybe some of the models that would cover if you connecting between the units.
Yeah, I think what people appreciate about Garmin is we strive, believe it or not, behind the scenes. I don't mind pulling the curtain back, but we want these things to be as easy to use as possible. We don't want people to feel like they got to have an electrical degree and whatever to be able to use these things.
Right.
So with the networking, it's just a network cable and if you're familiar with Garmin, it's a plug and play kind of deal. There's not a lot of kind of dongles and all this, that, and the other. It's an RJ45 cable, which is kind of like a Cat 4 cable that you're used to with like home modems and stuff, if you will. But we have it what we call, not to overcomplicate it, power over Ethernet, and that's how when you turn a unit on, it wakes up the other unit, might be asleep. But yeah, the networking's really try to simplify that with our products, and we try to simplify the actual menus. We don't want you to have to go. I mean, there's so much going on with this stuff nowadays. We don't want you to have to go into like 5 menus deep to get to what you're looking for when that might be something that you use often. So we might try to pull that up to the front menu instead of it being so deep into it.
Yeah, and connectivity between 2 units, Bluetooth.
Yeah, we're getting a little more complicated with that now, it seems, for some folks, but it's really kind of mapping out the future of where this stuff's probably going, So we do have the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi connectivity. The trolling motor's got that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it might be a little cumbersome for some people to set up at first, but once it's set up, it's kind of set up, But we do, encourage people, especially with the live scope. We're still not there with the live scope.
Right.
The live scope's got to be hardwired in, if you will.
Right.
But
that'd be so awesome if you didn't have to, like have that cable run into your live scope, because that would just be phenomenal, dude. That would, that would really change things. But I mean, it would be. It'd be crazy.
Will get there one day. It's already capable of doing it. Kind of, I call it mirroring. It's not, it might not be the right term, but you're able to do that with your phone through Active Captain. And a lot of people have a tablet. A lot of people, especially these YouTube generation that we're in, they want to record stuff and be able to kind of superimpose it on the screen and stuff. So it's probably coming at some point. But
all right. You mentioned it, and I was just going to ask you about Active Captain. Can you talk about that? Because that's great. Like, I'm telling you right now.
I like to hear
that. I helped my neighbor. He got a Garmin unit. And so when he got his Garmin unit, I walked over there and he said, "Man, I've been trying to do this, Brad. I know you know how to do this stuff." And I said, "Yeah, I know how to do it." And so I went over there, but I had taken a blank little micro card SD with me.
Yep.
And so when I got over there, and I said, "So what's the problem?" "It don't work."
Yeah.
It's like, I can't. He was trying his brand new unit. So he was trying to, log in and everything. He said, "Well, I'm logging in, but I said, "So you put your SD card in there,
Good
your
man.
micro." And he said, "What do you mean? What card?" I said, "If you read the directions, it says you have
when
to."
all else fails, read the instructions, right?
If you read the directions, you would have known that. And so I had my card, and I said, "Here you go." And so he was able to set it up. But tell us about that, because that to me, it's phenomenal. And when you get done with that, I'm going to tell you my story of service, Garmin service, because I don't want to miss that.
That never gets old hearing about the service, folks. Our product support team, real quick, is awesome. But yeah, Active Captain is definitely kind of like our nucleus of where we're trying to go as far as being able to kind of create a bigger network with the boats. And what I mean by that is it's really is the future, and the future is now. It's here. But bass guys especially, and I love my bass guys, they want things simple, and it's definitely, I'll admit, a little more complicated than what we're used to. It's not just turning it on, like you said with your buddy. You got to have that blank SD card to put in there first. That's part of the steps, right?
That's right.
But Active Captain it's got so much potential and possibilities for what we're going to be able to do down the road as far as growing the tech that these things are capable of. But as far as the simpleness of it is, it's definitely the way to do your software updates. That's a big thing with Garmin.
Oh, absolutely.
There's several ways to do software updates, and I'll be the first to admit it is cumbersome just trying to set something up thinking you're just going to go in there without reading the instructions and setting it up. But once you get past that initial setup phase, it's pretty seamless after that. It's kind of automatic. It's going to let you know. It's got all the stuff you have on your boat, your trolling motor, your live scope, your 2 or 3 or 4, however many graphs you have on the boat. They're all in there. It's going to let you know when you need to do the software updates and all that. You can go home and sit on your couch and you can get on the mapping side of it. You can, do some e-scouting, if you will, and, pick out some waypoints. That's going to transfer on over there. But that's really probably, I foresee, and I'm just a sales guy. I'm not one of our engineers, but I really foresee so much stuff, possibilities with the active captain in the future. And it's really probably, and especially in the freshwater world, the saltwater guys, they're all about active captain. But in the freshwater world, it's definitely underutilized.
And it's an app on your phone, so if there's updates, like if we grab mine, it might have a little round icon that says 1, and then you're
there's an alert on there. It's time to check out that and see what's going on, and it'll say, "Hey, time to update these."
Yeah, that's nice. So anyway, I had a little issue on my transducer, and so I called them up and I said, I have a little problem with my transducer, and lo and behold, we went through the steps of what was wrong with it, and I happened to be on the water, and they're like, do this, do that, and then boom, they knew exactly what was wrong, and they took care of the situation, and a couple of days later, I had a new transducer, and I don't even know if it was a couple of days. Might have just been one. I mean, Kansas is not very far from Northwest Arkansas,
I bet.
So they get right on it, but they were. You could tell that it was a helpline that they understood the product. A lot of times you get to a helpline, they don't. You talk to the one person, and they go through their little graph thing, and then they don't answer your question. We'll get you up to the next person, and then you end up going a couple levels till you finally get to the person who actually knows everything.
Yeah, I tell people when you call Garmin, you're going to talk to a real life person in Kansas.
Yep.
We do have. It's probably not as big as a team as people would think. As big as Garmin is, it's a robust team of folks up there, and there are some people that are, kind of more specialized, and maybe there's a guy that's really good with like radars, or there's a guy that's good with the trolling motor. So they might have to, filter through a couple of people at the time, but most of the time, from what I hear, and I hear it all the time. I'm an off-site employee. I cover this area down here, so I'm not at headquarters. But I rarely hear anything where somebody said, "Man, y'all really kind of left me hanging on this." They want to help you. You know what I mean? A, that's their job. I get it. But B, like, we want to create fans of the brand. We want people to be Garmin folks that come back again and again. And like I said, you're going to talk to a real life person up there. They're going to walk through you. They've got their troubleshooting list. They're going to want you to try this, and this. But and some people may get feel like they're getting frustrated at first, but they're just trying to help eliminate. They're trying to dial in. And like I said, I love hearing good things about them. I mean, if I could be up there, buying people's lunch and giving them a pat on the back, I would, because I'm kind of out in the field, and so I don't get to interact like they do. And so it just reflects great upon all of us when our product support team's behind us like they are.
Well, that was the easy question. Now we're going to throw the hard pollen. This is the pollen question. Yeah. We're hearing this as Major League Fishing. We're at Red Crest. We're at Guntersville. We got pollen issues. People are like, I can't see. We were at Lake Sardis last week for the National Crappie League Championship. Number one question, pollen. Can't see my lure, can't see my bait, can't see the fish. Is there like maybe some options that they can try?
Yeah. And just to reiterate that, we are here in fishing Lake Guntersville with the MLF guys. They're talking about it on live.
Yeah.
I saw Terry Scroggins, the Big Show, one of our guys. Right. He mentioned it, and he did a little video on it the other day. It's an issue. When I first noticed it, this is my home lake. This is where I fish, Guntersville. And when I first saw it, it didn't really occur to me, but it's kind of undeniable once you see it. I mean, especially when you're seeing it on the top of the water, right?
Right.
But what people don't realize is that pollen starts to settle in, and it gets in that water column, and it'd be like maybe attributing it to like if it rained the night before and the water was real muddy, right?
Right.
So The unfortunate thing is that there's real no silver bullet, if you will, for the pollen, but there definitely is some things you can try. If you're familiar with LiveScope, if you have LiveScope, you know about the gain button. That's the non-set it and forget it button right there.
Right.
You know, you're kind of always kind of tweaking with the gain, and that's one thing you can try. And if you're still not satisfied with the image you're seeing on the screen, you can also go into and there's still a lot of people that aren't familiar with color gain and color limit.
Okay, tell us the difference between stuff.
Yeah, so that's you'll go into your menu, and you'll find color gain and color limit, and kind of to put it simply, that's going to create a hotter picture, if you will. It's going to create a little bit more of a pop on the screen, and what I can kind of emphasize more on that, when you see a piece of structure or even a fish, you know, you're going to see it on your LiveScope, but if you go in and mess with the color limit and the color gain, that image is going to look brighter. It's going to look hotter. And so that's one thing you can kind of do, but there's really nothing to do about it's nature, man. That pollen's going to be there. But that's just a couple things you can tweak with it. Right. And that's just messing with your settings. And what I want to emphasize about that while I'm saying that is a lot of people are scared to mess with their settings. Right. You're not going to break anything. You might get it out of what you would normally feel comfortable with, but you can always hit the good old restore default sonar. So that'll just take you back to kind of the baseline.
The factory setting.
Correct. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's not gonna delete your waypoints or anything like that. That's a whole nother thing. But don't be afraid to go in there and kind of play with it and emphasize some more on the not a silver bullet for anything. Is that a lot of times people have different opinions on what they want to see on their screen. Right. Some people like it a little hotter. Some people like to have a little bit more of that gain feedback in there, which that makes it kind of look fuzzy or something. Uh-huh. But that actually helps that image be more emphasized on the screen. Right. So it's just playing with it a little bit. The pollen will eventually go away, but here we are in spring. We're in the southeast, and anywhere else that's got to deal with pollen and allergies, it's happening right now. So.
Yeah, and it's just going to keep going north. So everyone, you may not be dealing with it now, but you will with it later.
But when I first started pointing it out to people, a lot of people, you could kind of see the light bulb go off. They didn't even know that had affected it. You know what I mean? Right. And not to change the subject, but similarly in line with, I've seen certain times of the day where the rays of the sun will come in through the water column as well and just kind of distort some things. And so it's just kind of where we are with the technology now. Maybe one day they'll have a pollen button on there for us. But, that color limit and that color gain, if you play with that in conjunction with your regular gain, that's a way to kind of tweak it and maybe work with that fuzzier water that you're seeing.
So now we probably just heard the inside of their new button they're going to have on their thing. Maybe the engineers will be watching. They'll be like, hey.
Pollen button. Yeah.
And you know what will happen? They'll take the credit.
Hey, I'll give them the credit.
That'd be funny. He'll be like, okay. Anyway, that takes us to Tackle Time. Tackle Time sponsored by PICO Lures. PICO Lures makes a complete line of hard and soft baits. So any kind of game fish that you're trying to catch, even if there's pollen on the water or in the water, if you have a PICO Lure on the line, you're going to catch a fish. So check them out at PICOLures.com. Lee, if they wanted to find out more about Garmin and Garmin products, where would they go?
Yeah, obviously we have a website like everybody else, Garmin.com, but also we worked on it more so, probably got more popular during the COVID era, is that we do have a marine section dedicated YouTube channel. Okay. There's a lot of great information on YouTube. Sometimes you got to kind of filter through all that, and great information out there, but we do have our Garmin Marine get dedicated YouTube channel on there. So there's also, we're not just marine. We do fitness, we do aviation and stuff, but there is a marine YouTube channel out there. If you poke around, you'll find it.
All right, sounds good. We appreciate it. Like I always like to end the show, make sure you keep your hook sharp, your lures in the water.